Now, The Old Man and the Sea is written by Ernest Hemingway. Of course, Ernest Hemingway was an American writer who was born on the 27th of July 1899 and he passed on the 2nd of July 1961. But then we should also bear in mind that Hemingway was not just a writer. Of course, there are two things that Ernest Hemingway also did. Number one, he was a war veteran, First World War veteran. Number two, Hemingway was also a reporter. Oh yes, he did report for local newspapers in the United States of America as well as in France. But let us look at who Ernest Hemingway was and the experiences he had in life that plays out the narrative, The Old Man and the Sea. Now, to cut things short, we do know that Ernest Hemingway, within the ages of 17 and 18, made his way to the front lines of the First World War. He served in Europe and he was fatally wounded and was hospitalized in Milan. From there, he was transferred to the United States of America where he recuperated. It was after then that he kicked off his writing career. Then he later on traveled to France where he reported for a local newspaper and then he published his first collection of short plays. Now, one other tragic thing we learn about Hemingway is that Hemingway took his own life. Yes, he committed suicide, he killed himself, which is something that we regret to say, but then it's just what it is. But then let us focus on The Old Man and the Sea and why his experiences are very crucial in our understanding of The Old Man and the Sea. Now, what makes Ernest Hemingway stands out from his contemporaries is the fact that he writes with quite a lot of intensity. He doesn't bring a lot of emotions into his narrative, how his characters feel. He goes straight into action, which means that we would be grappling with a lot of nouns and verbs, just nouns and verbs, and that takes away quite a lot of burden trying to figure out the mentalism, how characters feel, what drives the action. No, Hemingway goes straight for action itself. It's just all about nouns and verbs. And when we go to The Old Man and the Sea, for a recap of the storyline or the plot. Now, The Old Man and the Sea recounts a narrative about an elderly, experienced fisherman in a tiny, impoverished fishing village off the coast of Havana, the capital of Cuba, which borders Miami, the United States of America. Now, this old man goes by name Santiago, and he has been at sea for 84 days without taking a single fish. But then on the 85th day, Santiago goes straight into the sea, but then he makes it further into the area where he knows there are schools of Bonito and Abaco, an area in the seas where his fellow fishermen rarely goes to. So Santiago goes into this part of the sea and he hooks up a giant marlin, a gigantic fish. And it's unfortunate that he has not come with the only apprentice he has, a young boy who goes by the name Manolin. And so Santiago finds himself in a struggle with this fish to kill it and raise it on board. But then, given his age, he finds it practically impossible, so he will strap it at the side of his skiff or his fishing boat. But then on his voyage home, mako sharks, they descend on this fish and they mutilate it, they eat up the fish. But then Santiago is still hopefully able to drag along the skeleton of this fish to the seashore. He drops it there and then runs to his tiny shark and he lies down to rest with his hands quite open and blood pouring out from his palms, more like a Christ-like figure. And so early in the morning, when other fishermen came up ashore and saw the skeleton, the giant skeleton, they just could not stop sharing a sense of marvel and admiration for what Santiago must have gone through. So they could see the bravery exuded by Santiago in this adventure at sea against the marlin. So that is just a sneak peek of what the whole narrative is about. But then as an advanced level student, it's also very important that you look at the various narrative elements that helps to build up the narrative. We are talking about stylistic devices, we are talking about the setting, we are talking about the themes as well as characterization. Always bear in mind that that is all. That is just all there is. See, I keep saying this, examiners are not magicians. There's no other question they can bring away from these things that I've just discussed. It's either we have context or content questions. Either the questions comes at the level of themes, characterization, style, plot, or it comes at the level of setting. That's just all there is about this narrative. We just have a way of always making things very difficult. So Stay in line, smash the subscribe button and be part of the forum. In my next video, I'm going to look at a setting of this story. I'm going to look at time and space of this tale, The Old Man and the Sea.